There we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unlocking the Power of AI. I'm Jill with Aviatra. Aviatra is a nonprofit that helps women start and grow their businesses faster and with more confidence with classes, coaching, and community. And this is one of the classes that we offer is these free webinars. And we're very excited to have this whole quarters of webinars sponsored by Smith Law. And Shannon Smith is with us today to talk about Smith Law. Her camera is not working, so we'll just have to hear her lovely voice.
Thanks, Jill. I appreciate it very much. As Jill shared, I am the founder of Smith Law. I started it about 10 years ago. And I also own a couple other businesses called Revival Vintage Spirits and Rising Tide. So I do practice in business law, but also alcohol beverage law. And I think the one thing to keep in mind if you come to our team and you need any help is that when you have a business law issue, it's not observed in a vacuum. I have a unique understanding of the operations of the business, how you need to be dynamic, how it's more than just a contract. Like you need to fully understand the business. So we do business law. We complement it with intellectual property law. That's Shelby Campbell. That's her area, and she's wonderful if you haven't met her. And the rest of the attorneys in our office do cover construction law, family law, nonprofit, landlord, tenant, and we do general litigation. So if you all ever need any of those areas, let me know. And I always tell Jill and Jasmine, anyone that comes to their seminars, we normally charge $100 for consultations. If you guys are on their webinars, seminars, whatever, you all can let them know. They'll send me your information and we'll connect you with a free consult. And the only thing that I'll leave you with is a tip that I've been giving all my businesses and just something to be aware of. Some of you may know that the Corporate Transparency Act was passed, and by January 1st of 2025, all existing businesses need to make sure that they're compliant with it. And it's mostly just providing beneficial ownership information. And the only other tip that I've let some of my businesses know is that the FTC recently said non-competes are no longer enforceable. So just be aware of those things as you're navigating the next steps in your businesses. And if you guys have any questions at all about any of it, just let me know. And that's about all I have. Thank you, guys.
That's so great, Shannon. Thank you so much. We are just so happy to be partnered with you, a strong woman entrepreneur who is really just coming from a heart of service. So thank you very much.
Of course. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Shannon. So Dawn, I'm super excited to introduce you. So Dawn is the executive director of the Biz Access Hub. And I really want her to, I know she will, talk about how they work with, how they're introducing and helping companies better understand and utilize AI, which of course is the perfect fit for this webinar. So Dawn, I'm going to give it to you.
Great, thank you. So my hope is that, this will be a fairly interactive, but I know that sometimes people are busy doing other things, but when we, feel free to interrupt at any time or pop a question into the chat. And if I miss it, then, Jasmine or Jill can say, hey, there's a question in the chat. Let's see if you can answer it. Jill always introduces me as like someone who's an expert in AI, and I'm not. What I am, though, is I'm beginning to really understand what a lot of the issues are that small companies are running into with regard to productivity and profitability in a whole new way. What we do at Biz Access Hub is so at NKU, we've been helping small businesses for about 35 years, but we were part of the SBDC, which is the SBA model. And it was determined about 3 years ago that that model didn't work for us because of the way that it's a federal grant. And as you can imagine, federal grants over time just get a little bit restrictive, or there's just some rules that get put into place that don't work for certain organizations. And so we elected not to keep going with that federal grant. And they said, let's create our own version of how we can help small businesses. And so they hired me and said, handed me a piece of paper and said, can you build this idea? So we have been working to provide different kinds of services to small businesses. As a small business owner myself, I was in love with this idea because I realized that the big companies had access to really big, powerful resources. And even medium-sized companies often did, but smaller companies, one-person operations, one or two person operations, or maybe you've got a few people, but you're still in what I would call self-employment versus business ownership, right? So self-employment means I just don't have a boss that I'm reporting to, but I'm still doing all the work by myself all day. And if I don't get the work done, then I don't get paid. Versus business owner, meaning you can walk away. And I knew that, and walk away like for a vacation or for some period of time and not go into a panic. And I realized that there are just so many tools that are available out there to speed up processes that could help get certain things done, or manage sales, or manage employee issues, or manage strategies, or email conversations. And as I talked with our clients here at Biz Access Hub, realized that people just don't often know where to start. And so where I and Biz Access Hub are helping people is in the, where do I start? Now, it could be somebody who knows nothing. Like, I'm even terrified. I don't even want to go to one of those URLs because I don't know where my information is going to go. Or a lot of people are playing with different things. They don't even know it. But what are some of the tools that we could provide? And so that's really the focus that we have right now, is being a portal for productivity and profitability using tools of automation and artificial intelligence. And so Jill asked me to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence at a higher level. And then I am happy to chat with you guys about whatever questions that you might have or what I've learned, knowing that I'm the one who knows how to pull resources together to make things happen. I'm learning a lot myself along the way. All right. So Jill, do you want me to go ahead and get started here? Let's see if I can do this right. Do this. What do you guys see? Do you see all my notes, or do you see?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we
That's
see
great.
your notes.
Here we go. I'm going to try this again. Hold on. There. Now you can just see the screen. Awesome. Now I got to put on the glasses. So I wish they had an AI for my ability to see a screen without having to change glasses all the time. So I really wanted to start the conversation by talking about, first of all, like, what's the difference between artificial intelligence and intelligent automation? So automation really is where you can put a tool in and it just keeps chugging through. It doesn't need to think about anything. How many of you have ever used, like I use Calendly.com. Do any of you guys use Calendly.com? So Calendly.com is really just a tool that shows your calendar, and then people go in and they select something from the calendar based on the time your schedule. It looks at your schedule and the person's schedule and says, here's where all the openings are. There's really no thinking required by the tool, right? There's lots of things like that where there's no thinking required. Even if you have like an editor in Word, if it's spell checking, there's no thinking required. It's just running a program and popping up things that don't seem to make sense. And then it gives you a suggestion based on code. It's not thinking, it's not learning anything from you in the process, at least in all of these old ones. You might have we use email marketing automations where it says, and you may get these things where you sign up for, I want to get a free PDF, right? Give me this PDF on, how to do emails. So then the system sends you the email. And then 2 days later, it says, hey, what did you think about the PDF? Hey, do you want to schedule a call? Hey, you haven't opened up the PDF yet. Hey, right? That's all automation. It's not thinking. You have told it what the triggers are, what days to send it, when to follow up, when to stop. So it's about, what are those there's a lot of tools out there that can help a lot of us get things done that are just by automating things. My sister is old school automation. And I've shared this with Jill before. She has a yellow legal pad. Mine's white, but she has a yellow legal pad with her lists. And Wednesday is always watering Wednesday, and something else happens on Mondays. And on the 15th, it's in her calendar to change the filter on the furnace. And on another day is, she goes up to, I think it's the church where she takes care of the plants, and her calendar becomes her system for living. And if it's not in the calendar, it's not going to get done. And some people are really, really, really good at that. But that's all it is automation. It's still not doing any, she can look at the piece of paper, and the piece of paper tells her what to do. So there's just a lot of really fabulous tools around automation, and a lot of them are very inexpensive. But the cool thing is they help you. They do the thing that's really important, which reduces time on tasks that are just, they need to get done, but they're not necessarily helping you get your stuff into the hands of the people that need your products, right? You guys you've invented a cool thing. Your business exists to get your cool thing into the hands of the right people. And if you're spending half your time working on back end things, like trying to figure out how to get a bill paid, or why hasn't this invoice showed up, or why hasn't this person invoiced, why hasn't my system paid somebody, or why haven't I been paid yet? Those are all really important things. I mean, we all want to be paid, but you want to automate as much as that as you can, so you can be out there selling your thing or supporting your team in selling your thing. So I think it's really important to understand, where can you automate, which is just, where can we get rid of these tasks that we're doing over and over and over again? Does anybody have an example of a task that they're doing over and over and over again, that they either have put into some automation tool or they've been thinking about it?
I guess QuickBooks you can set up to re-invoice somebody if they haven't paid yet.
Right. And there's a lot of tools where it'll automatically pull from your, information from your bank account into QuickBooks or into some of these other systems, where it's an automated feature, right? Or it'll automate and say, what, from an expense point of view, was this food? Was this transportation? Was it gas? Was it medical? What else might it have been, right? Good example. Anybody else have any examples? Okay, no problem. So let's talk then about the key differences between automation and AI. So AI is kind of a scary word in some ways. I mean, when I first started hearing about it, I started to think about the Borg, right? And Star Trek, and having all these, people that are part human, part computer, and is this stuff going to take over the world? And then I thought about the Jetsons. Okay, I could like this from the Jetsons point of view, right? The Jetsons created, if you're old enough to remember, the Jetsons created some really cool things. But I think what's important to recognize the differences is that AI, artificial intelligence, actually adapts to you, right? It starts to understand the way you think or the way that you operate. But it still only works from the point of view of the data that already exists. It's not inventing new data. It's not putting things together and creating a brand new topic. But it might say, what if you put A and B together? Then me, human being, can say, oh, look, I hadn't thought about A and B together. That could be a C, right? But it won't say, put A and B together to get a C, like a brand new thought. Okay, so the thing that's beautiful about AI is that it can adapt to you. So how many of you have ever used Chat GPT or have used Perplexity or Claude? Yeah, Jill, anybody else? Can't see if anybody's raising their hand or putting anything in the chat. So
the only one I've used is Chat GTP. I haven't used any of the other ones.
Okay, great, thanks. So ChatGPT you have to kind of warm up the system. But let's say if I've been using it for 4 or 5 or 6 months, so ChatGPT is always going out and searching, I don't know how many terabytes of data to answer your question in like just a couple of seconds, right? But then you ask the question in a certain way. So if you said, create a menu using Ethiopian infusion food, and I need it for 12 days, it'll come up with some menu and some menu. And then if you said, and I need now add recipes, and then it comes up with recipes. It's starting to learn how you ask the question. So if you said, now I need you to make it kid friendly, and we need to put it on a menu board, and we need it to, if you need to make it more flowery, make it more exciting, it's going to start to pull information and feed it back to you the way that you've asked the question. So if you're a really left brain logical engineer and you ask questions in 3 or 4 words, it'll start to repeat stuff back to you in very logical formats. I'm very right-brained. It comes back way more flowery for me. I actually have to say, can you put that into bullet points for an engineer? So that it'll settle it down into a different kind of language. So the cool thing about AI is that it can learn and it can adapt over time. All right. It can help you think about things where you need to do some decision making. I was working with my daughter this weekend, and I've been asking her to put a budget together. She's 25 and just moving into a new apartment and has some expenses, and the thought of a spreadsheet is just terrifying her. So we went into ChatGPT and said, create a budget for someone who's making this much an hour, this many hours a week, and here's what rent and a couple of things will cost. So then it walked through the whole thing, and then without me even asking, it gave us a table. And then I said, all right, now, did that include federal and state taxes for Wisconsin? No, it did not. Here, as an example, if we use federal and state taxes, and it walked through all of the calculations, it didn't just add it in, it walked through all the calculations, and it said, so here's why you need to add it, because ChatGPT is getting used to knowing that I need a lot more information. So I put that data in, and then I said, well, did it include FICA taxes? Oh, no, we didn't include FICA taxes either. Here's what you do if you have to add in FICA taxes. And then I said, so what kind of a job does she need if she's going to have, how much does she need to make if she wants to be taking care of her dog, and the dog is going to cost about $150 a month extra? So then it came up with a list of all these potential part-time jobs that she could do to help supplement her income while she's working her day job. So it can, and then it kept putting everything back into a table format. And then after we had all those numbers and we kind of liked the numbers, I said, now can you put that into a 12-month budget? And then I said, can you put it into a 12-month cash flow document? And then it said, well, does she get paid every 2 weeks or does she get paid once a month? And I said, every 2 weeks. So then the documents come back with when the cash is flowing in and how the cash is flowing out. And this is unbelievable what these things can do. So it could think. In the past, you would just have to pull up an Excel spreadsheet and try to figure out how to do it on your own and hope you had gotten all the right answers, right? And I think that's really the beauty. You can automate a budget and cash flow in an Excel spreadsheet, right, with formulas. But AI can then make it something that is bigger and more complicated and can get you the formulas. So I think that's one of the other things. So Les said, Chat GPT is amazing, but Claude is fabulous as well. We've been encouraging people to use Claude because it's really good, especially for strategies, and help you understand where their ideas for their strategies came from. So the benefits of using AI for small business, I think one of the cool things is if you've got an email list, and email lists are really critical for small businesses. one of the things that research shows is that Facebook and LinkedIn will push people to a website, but you've got to get people on it. People will buy from the email list, not necessarily because they saw something on Facebook, depending on the product. But you can personalize your emails, right? To if it's a woman, or if it's a man, or if they're a certain age, or if they have, different kinds of interest or certain types of businesses. And people really like it when other people approach them from, hey, I know who you are, right? You can use AI for predictive analytics. This is especially helpful for small businesses that deal with a lot of inventory. If you're a restaurant, or if you're a store, or let's say you need parts for manufacturing, the AI can help you understand, tell you that you're running low on stock, or you're using more butter than you normally use at this time of the month, or it's time to start doing your Christmas ordering for, it's August, but if you don't order it now, you're not going to have it in time for the holidays. Or it could be letting you know if a certain person if the hours they're working are unusual. It can help you understand if people, like if you're in a business where people are doing tipping and it's being done electronically, you can do an analysis to see, are there certain times of the day when tips change, because your employees need the tips quite often to supplement their income. So you can start to understand some of those business models. You can understand if the weather is bad, do you have more people coming in to get their tires fixed, or do they wait and do it on a bright sunny day, or is it more when they're in a panic, right? So you can start to use a lot of these tools to be able to predict your business. But I think the biggest thing for a lot of folks is really just getting their costs down. If you can find ways to reduce cost and reduce the amount of time you're doing on the everyday things, that frees you up for you and your people to be able to become more creative, to solve other solutions as they're coming along. One of the things I like to think about with this is, as an example, is, there are some really cool little coffee shops around. I don't know if anybody on this call owns a coffee shop, but it's cool to own one coffee shop, but quite often you can't even imagine owning two unless they're right next door to each other. Or how would you own two on others, one that's a few blocks away or a couple of miles away? Or how do you add three? Or how do you try out different menu items? Because you're so busy working on the one. Well, what if you could use these tools to be able to think about how to scale? How do you make it bigger and still keep your business feeling strong the way it is, so that you don't wind up getting bought out by a local restaurant or another big coffee chain? Or maybe you do want to be bought out by a coffee chain. Well, then you got to figure out, how do you scale so that you look really interesting to them? And it's all of these tools that'll help you do it. When we're operating in oh my God, I got to go to work and I got to do this and I got to do that, we don't have time to think about scaling, let alone, sometimes it's like, how do I get through the day, depending on the business, right? I think, anytime you can streamline workflows. So when you're onboarding somebody, all right, here's step one. When you start to work, here's what you do. You're going to go learn these things. Here's the handbook, the employee handbook. Here's where the bathrooms are. There's a whole process, and you want people to be able to work through the process and figure things out. If you're making a thing, right? Or, like Jill does a lot of webinars like this. So she uses different tools to see, have people registered? If there was an assignment that was due, have they turned in the assignment? If they haven't turned in the assignment, do we have a system to say, hey, don't forget, you got to have your assignment turned in before the next class starts, right? So there's lots of different ways you can use these, use automation and AI to make things better and faster. So then the question becomes, where do I get started? And I think what I suggest, everybody's got a different way to do it. Some people want to jump right in and have a huge strategy. Okay, well, then that's what you should do. But quite often it's easiest to figure out, what is that thing I'm complaining about all the time? What do I complain about all the time? Like email for me, there's just so many. And I know though, if I file them over in that little left-hand column, I'll never open that left-hand column. So I have been experimenting with different tools on how to manage my emails to make sure that I am keeping up with all of my email. But what is that thing that you find yourself complaining about? Either you don't have enough time or you don't have enough energy, or it's just making you crazy. I would start with those lists. So quite often email, things around keeping your email list clean, around something around marketing and email, or maybe it's about Facebook posting, or maybe it's about, managing certain employee activities, right? So make a list and then pick a couple of those items and then go out and look at different tools. It's easy to just go out to Google and say, what are the top 10 tools for streamlining email responding? And it'll come up with a whole bunch of tools. And then you can take a look at what the different tools are and give it a try, and try it for a week or 2 weeks or a month, something like that, and see if that works. And if it doesn't work, you can try another tool. Unless you have the luxury of having, a bunch of interns or a bunch of people who love looking at this stuff. If you're doing it by yourself, that's where I would start. What are a couple of things that are making me really crazy? Go out and do an internet search of some of the tools and then give them a try, see what happens. And then what you'll find is as you start to adopt one tool and then 2 tools, then you'll be talking to more people about other tools and you can try those tools. And I'm reminded, my boyfriend always says, we are in the flip phone stage of AI, right? So today it's chaotic looking. There's a lot of places, there's a lot of tools that are out there. Everything's going to be changing in the next year or so. I just want everybody to start and try some things, because as more and more tools come on board, or we become more sophisticated around the kinds of tools and what they're capable of, if you start back here at the beginning, in the early days, it's going to be easier for you to be able to adapt and understand the new tools. I don't know if anybody has ever run a marathon or done anything like that, but you don't wake up one day and go run 26 miles, right? You have to start, you have to take a walk around the block and then a walk around 2 blocks. And then maybe you start to jog a little bit, but you don't do it in a minute. And I think that with AI, it's really important to just start to get comfortable trying different tools, so that when you see a need or the opportunity to really go to jump in the deep end with AI, then you're ready, right? It won't be terrifying. It won't be scary. You'll be clear on what you want and the kinds of strategies that you can use. And that's really what we're doing at Biz Access Hub, is kind of saying, all right, let's start here. You got to start somewhere and understand a lot of the basics, and know that 99.9% probably of the people in the world are in a start here mode. Everybody is. I mean, there are some people who are at the very opposite end with gigabytes of data and cybersecurity issues, but that's not where many of the small businesses are. So this is just kind of a recap of what I was saying, is to research and select some tools during the first week, implement and test, and then review and optimize, right? And then the other thing is, we do have a Start Here boot camp coming up on July 11th, where we've been surveying. We've got about 50 people so far. There's room for about 30 to 35 more. It's all day boot camp where you're going to be opening up the different URLs for ChatGPT and for some of these others. And everybody's got experience so far that's coming on some of these items. So we're going to teach you in more depth how to use these different prompts, what to be worried about, what not to be worried about, ways to use the tools that you may not have known about. We're going to have coaches working throughout the room so that if you have a specific question about your industry, they can help you think through the kinds of prompts that you might need versus somebody else at the table who might have a different set of issues or questions. With the idea being you're going to leave really feeling a lot more comfortable and confident using a lot of different tools. So I think that's really all I wanted to be sharing.
And you put
At
the
this
link
point.
to that in the chat with the discount code for everybody,
Yes,
right?
and I'm gonna put that back in again, because I know that it doesn't, if you came in after it got put in, it isn't always workable. So here's the thing. So if you I just put it in again, and then if you want to get, so there was early bird pricing, and then there was the regular pricing. I can get you $50 off the regular pricing, which will take it from 350 down to 300. If you really have a hardship, contact me. We can talk. But I want you to know that I guarantee that it will be worth every penny that you spend to be there. Promise. I don't usually give guarantees, but I know that if you come and you really engage, you'll walk away saying, okay, that was worth $300. Plus it's all your lunch, all your breakfast, all your drinks, and your parking, and a free coach. And you'll get a coaching session. There'll be some group coaching sessions that follow. So that you know how it is. You go to work, life hits you, crap, now what? And you need to be reminded of some things. So we'll have some drop-in coaching sessions for people who attend. So yeah. So any questions or any comments?
I would love it if you talk a little bit more. I know there's a paid version and a free version of, for example, Chat GTP. Can you talk about a little bit about what the benefit of, I don't know if there's paid versions of some of those other tools, like similar tools, but maybe you can talk a little bit about the benefits of paying versus not.
Sure, hang on just a second. Let me pull up my Chat GPT. Share my screen again. There, can you guys see my screen? It says Chat GPT 4.0.
Yeah. So
So-
4.0 is the paid version.
That's the paid version, and that's $20 a month right now. And you can get an enterprise version, which I think is it equals being $25 a person per month. But then you can see what everybody else is working on, which is one of the big benefits. But when I was preparing for this webinar 10 days ago, when I knew I was doing the discussion, Jill said, is there any way you could put some slides together for that too? And I thought, oh, okay, I didn't realize I needed slides. So I went out to ChatGPT and I said, I need a presentation that does all of these things. And it created the presentation. Now you can't see it all here. It's from, let's see, it's in here. Sorry, seminar AI versus IA. So I kept asking it questions, and it kept creating more and more slides for me. And then it went out and found me pictures to go with it. So here's what I'm going to show you is when you get ChatGPT, when you buy the paid version, you get access to all of these different kinds of GPTs. So a GPT pulls a lot of data together based on certain topics. So Chat GPT is about talking, right? Chat. It's words, it's documents, it's text posts and things of that nature. But you could do images. You can ask it. So there's a whole thing on images. It goes out and looks at Unsplash. It goes and looks at different kinds of images that you are allowed to use for free. And it will give you how you acknowledge the image, right? So if it's copyrighted, I don't think it'll pull it in. But if you have the freedom to use it, like Unsplash does, it'll say, and here's how you can acknowledge photographer Tom Smith, right? Here's where this particular one, resources are built in for critical reading skills. It accesses Google Scholar, PubMed. So these are really high-end journals related to science of some sort. A lot of you might have used Canva, right? If you use Canva to create post. You can use Canva to create PowerPoint slides. There's all kinds of things that you can create inside of Canva, and it now has got its magic. It's something magic something anyway, and it'll rewrite things for you, and it'll show you all kinds of variations. Logo creator, put in a bunch of ideas about what you want your logo to look like, and it'll show you a bunch of free versions of your logo. Under ChatGPT, you've got, Dolly, which is a really great imagery. That's where you can say, create a picture of 4 dogs playing poker, and Elvis is painted in the background, and the dogs there's dice on the table, and you can keep adding to it, and it'll keep creating a picture or an image for you. And then you can learn a lot. Here's a whole thing about plants and plant care, and there's all of these different kinds of tools to help you with your writing, right? How do I write this thing? It's very scientific because it needed to be for some people, but now I want to make it public for others. Can you make it look more like a human instead of a robot wrote it, right? There's other things for productivity, right? So how do you create different diagrams? I can see the diagrams in my head. You got to do step 1, step 2. If it happens, it goes over here. Otherwise, they've got to go over here. Well, diagrams helps you create those easily. I used to have to use that smart art in PowerPoint, and it was never the right thing. It was never the right thing. Or if I added one thing, it just blew the whole thing. These kinds of tools are just fabulous, right? There's a lot of, so there's just more and more kinds of tools that are available for you, right? The world's most powerful math tool, how to get tutored by Khan Academy. Khan Academy is all of these really great programs for teaching your kids things. So anyway, I just wanted you to be aware there's so many different things that are available when you buy the paid version that you don't get in the free version.
I had no idea most of those existed.
I mean, look at this. There's astrology birth chart stuff, right? You can, it's just crazy stuff. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So any other questions that anybody might have?
That sounds great, Dawn, that the point for you of AI is to, at least when you're starting, to be more productive, which leads to profitability, right? You're saving time over here. You can use that time on money-making activities.
Right.
And that's what we need to all be doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fast changing world, right? I mean, I remember when my kid used Facebook and I was like, oh, Facebook. Then my sister started using Facebook and I thought, okay, let me get on Facebook. And then it turned out it was a bunch of people our age that are on Facebook. And what it did, then my kid went off Facebook and now they're on something else, right? And then there's TikTok, and then there's this, and then there's that, and then you've got LinkedIn. And how do you keep up with all that stuff?
Can't.
Well, what if you don't have to though? So we now we have a license that we're using for something called Go Big Formula and E Squared, and it is. So we've connected LinkedIn and we've connected the Facebook business page and Instagram. And now we just say, here's a CSV. You can do up to 90 days of posting, and it's got 4 columns, and you just load it up into the system, and whoop, it's every one of the accounts is getting the post at the same time.
That's a time saver.
Oh my gosh. Well, and then I use other tools to create the posts.
Yeah.
Right. So it's probably saving 20 hours a month.
Yeah.
Because I hate writing posts. So if you can imagine saving 20 hours a month to write a posts, and what else?
Well, now it becomes doable, because what we hear so many times from solopreneurs is I literally don't have the time to post. So that would buy you that time so that you can be doing that kind of marketing, which you hate to not do since it's free, but you could do it and not take time away from actually making money. So.
Right.
that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dawn. And thank you
Sure.
everybody for coming, and we'll send out the replay and hopefully see y'all again soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.